Hi, my name is Jennifer Six, and I'm a single mom with two daughters, aged 9 and 15, and we have six dogs and two cats. We live in Little Elm, just outside the city limits, and we were so excited and proud to build our forever home in October of 2014. We were able to place my late sister's Bible in the foundation as we built, and we called our forever home Sunnyside. We wanted it to be the sunny side of life for everybody that comes through the door and everyone who experiences it with us. It was always my intent to go in and add a second story, also to add a swimming pool to the backyard, but I just couldn't afford it and I couldn't qualify for it whenever I first built the house in 2014. So I worked two full-time jobs for many years, and I worked on my credit and I built my savings. And finally, when the pandemic hit, it just felt like that was the time to start exploring it. We really love to travel. We had just started being able to travel and explore, fun places like Hawaii. And it just didn't look like we were going to have an opportunity to do that anytime in the near future. So why not explore what we had always wanted to do with the second story addition and the swimming pool? And that's what we did. I interviewed many contractors. I didn't choose the cheapest contractor, and I interviewed many lenders to make a decision on who I would choose for this project. I chose Brian Berardinelli with FCGC Construction. Now it's Valkyrie Construction. They are LLCs. One has been forfeited, and he is now starting another. He's been doing projects under the forfeited one, and to my knowledge, he is trying to move everything to the new one. He's got a partner named Ricky. His name is Richard Norris, and he's got people that work for him named Ethan Berkeley, Dakota Cotton, Sam, and then there's a younger Jack and an older Jack. Brian told me that he advised me against using my own architect. He told me that he had an architect that he would be utilizing named Bob Durant, who had an assistant named Travis. He also brought an engineer into my home and introduced me to him named Jason Conklin, who I now know is semi-related to him. He's with Lighthouse Engineering, and he was never actually on my job. Nothing in my home was ever architecturally structured nor engineered correctly by an engineer, stamped off on by an engineer or an architect in any way, shape, or form. Looking back, every single time I tried to involve an outside professional, he would talk me out of it. He did not want anyone seeing what he was doing to me.
That's where it's going. It's going there, and there's fluff there. A bunch of it is going there.
So this is in your room? No, Josie's room. And there's a drip right there.
It's coming right here. It's like a circle drip.
All right, Josie's going to grab a bucket.
See?
This is right by the fireplace.
Do you see where it's coming from?
I
Oh,
don't.
I see it. It's coming from right here. It's
Coming
coming
from right
down.
there.
Oh, it's dripping down there.
Yeah. It's coming from right there.
Okay.
Right there. So, shoot,
What's
going?
it do?
I don't know. Go get a bucket. Go get a bucket, and I'll put a bucket right here. Josie, bring me another bucket. So it's actually coming down right here from the chimney, but it's also seeping in right there from outside. So I'm going to put a towel right there, and I'm going to put, I think the drip is coming. I'm going to find the drip and put a bucket here.
I thought I did the right thing. I thought I did my due diligence in researching him, but he manipulated us, and he manipulated my children. We were always scrambling, just trying to save our home through this whole process. His partner let it slip that I wasn't the only one upset, that most of the jobs they were doing 3 others, he said. They were all angry, they were all upset, they were all concerned. I purchased my flooring from a local woman-owned business, and he talked about how he sweet-talked his way into employment with them, which I later found out ended a disaster because his work was terrible, and they had to redo jobs that they had assigned to him and remove him from those jobs. So it looks like there's a seam all the way across the ceiling that's breaking. I chose Brian after communicating with him through his Facebook Messenger and after he and his partner Ricky and two of their teenage sons came to my home in July. I looked through his Facebook where he had extensive projects posted. He had what looked like owners commenting on those projects, and it looked like he had just an extensive history of doing really great work. But reversed searches revealed those are not all his projects. That is not all his work.
Okay, so I took pictures. Now I'm going to take a video. So you can hear the freaking buckets in mine. Tells his cloth. So there's that bucket. It's about like that full. And then there's that little pole. And then there's these two buckets. They're going pretty fast. You might need to take that little one and do it. There's that. So that's going to keep on going all night. So we need to change out that properly. There's that. It's gross and dirty. Then you go up. That. So yeah. This bucket should be fine tonight. That bucket. This bucket, we might have to change it. I don't know.
Brian sent me a bid in July, and he advised me against hiring my own architect. He was going to do that, right? The Bob Durant guy with his assistant Travis. He came to my house many times, sharing ideas about large slides for the swimming pool. He promised my youngest daughter a secret hideaway under the stairs in the house. He told me that if I hired him, we should wait until October because we'd get better pricing on materials and better availability on labor, and because he had other big projects to finish before then. So here I thought I had this great contractor, these family-oriented guys that brought their children to my house that were going to keep me and my children involved in all of the designs and every step of the way, and they were promising us the world. So I proceeded to interview contractors for both the pool and the partial second story addition, as well as contractors like Brian who said they could do both. He proceeded to check in often. He would text me, he would send sketches and ideas, he would relate to me and the kids, he would look at things in my house and notice I liked Game of Thrones and would make comments about Game of Thrones, make comments about strong women and lifting me up. He would relate to the children. His partner Ricky was a martial artist and knew that they were martial artists and would relate to them in that way. He was Jekyll and Hyde. He sent me a text one day with these panoramic floor-to-ceiling glass doors, and he said that that was an idea that would fit within the budget. So here we were really excited, thinking that we were really going to be creating something awesome. So I decided on him as our contractor, one, because of the budget he promised, and two, because of the attentiveness he gave us, along with all of the ideas and the details that he was incorporating into my project. The scope of work his business page on Facebook showed, and all of the interaction that seemed was there from his clients and from other people on that page. So we agreed on starting in October, and we agreed that I would work on finalizing the financing and he would work on the plans for the HOA approval and the permits from Denton County for both the pool and the renovation. So he brought Jason Conklin by to meet me on October 21st as the engineer that was going to be doing the plans for my project. Jason and I spoke in early July of this year over the phone, of which he informed me that Brian never hired him and that Brian pretty much ghosted him after he told Brian that he would need to pay him half of the fee up front for the engineer plans. Come to find out, Brian has dropped his name with projects as recent as July of 2021, and it seems that they've worked together over the last 3 to 4 years. So there's a history there, and they're related in some way as well. October 28th, Brian sent heating and air conditioning subcontractor to temporarily relocate it from over the attic in my kitchen to in the attic over my hallway by my foyer. He was planning to vault the ceiling in the kitchen and the living room, and that was supposed to be part of the renovation that he had decided. So Brian was out of town in Vegas. He was asking me not to let Ricky know he was in Vegas, and he sent Ricky to my house with Ricky's daughter, Phoebe, to supervise the heating and air conditioning move. This took 2 days, and we were without heating and air conditioning from that point until May the 21st of 2021, all through the Texas freeze. My ceiling under that air conditioning unit fell in on the morning of May 22nd, 2021. It was directly over my children, who jumped out of the way just in time. And we have not had heating and air conditioning since. So I signed the contract November the 4th with Brian, and I paid him the down payment the same day. He began removing my ceiling. He was building wooden steps up through the laundry room and the master closet. And then at his request, we moved everything in the house, into the front part of my house, and the girls and I stayed in my master area the entire renovation with our pets. This is right outside the room that had all of our furniture stacked up in it. There were hundreds and hundreds of flies in this window. I let Brian know about it. I knew it was because of all of the moisture in the house that had gone unrepaired for so long, that I had told him about, that he had chosen not to repair yet, and he did absolutely nothing. Hundreds of flies in that window. Brian disappeared physically from early November until late January. He was texting me periodically that he was waiting on Jason Conklin, the engineer, and Bob Durant, the architect, and Travis, Bob's assistant, for the permits and the HOA applications. Later, his partner Ricky informed me that he intended to disrupt our family in October and displace us until late January, which he intended to be the actual start date from the beginning. You can later see in my text thread that that's what he speaks of as the start of this project. January, not October, when we were displaced with no heating and air conditioning, and he tore a hole into our ceiling. We spent many nights in my Jeep through thunderstorms because it wasn't safe to be in the home. Brian had his framers at our house for the renovation for about 2 weeks, from late January to early February. He had workers use a bobcat to dig and start the rebar in the pool the week before the freeze, knowing the freeze was coming, and then he used that as the excuse for not doing the pool every time we asked. There's been no significant work performed at my home since February. In March, shortly after the framing, my daughters and I experienced multiple leaks in the new roof, the original ceilings above the first floor, and repeatedly asked Brian about this, and the 8 holes in the lower level ceilings from when the framing experience occurred. He called it all normal with dealing with renovating. My daughter's ceiling in her lower level bedroom started to swell and drip in her room, and the closet fell in. We made Brian aware of it right away. He allowed it to continue until it completely fell in, resulting in water, in 8 different colors of water damage, odor, damages to the closet, the flooring, wet flooring left, walls, ceiling. He's still not fully repaired any damages to the existing structure, including what I've mentioned, as well as many others, such as roof leaks, damaging flooring, walls in the master bath, lower level living, front office, cracks in the garage ceiling, a hole dug into the foundation in the hall bath, and back porch ceiling. He left the stairs and upper level without walls and rails literally open to the lower level from November of 2020 to June of 2021. The entire backyard has been torn up since construction began in October. There's been no heating and air conditioning, and they've littered hazardous debris throughout my yard, rendering it completely unusable for my kids and for my pets to this very day. They destroyed my sprinkler system, my grass, the entire yard structure. The living room was hazardous due to an inefficient 900-pound, 40-foot steel I-beam that he installed with no engineer approval. It's not even adequately supporting the original roof structure, and it is at risk of falling on top of us. We have to avoid that room. Our home is hot because of our heating and air conditioning system being wrecked from him never returning it to its correct installation, and because He vented more square footage off of it, overwhelming it, rendering it damaged and unable to perform to necessary standards. It's dripping into a puddle outside right next to my foundation. It's going through my master bathroom ceiling, which is now completely water damaged in 4 areas. Brian has a history of walking jobs, which I had never known what that meant until this, but it means leaving after payment without fulfilling the scope of work. He left my project June the 23rd of 2021. He said it was due to non-payment after I challenged his attempts to request $16,000 of the last $20,000 of my project cost, which was $125,000. I have paid him $105,000 so far, each and every time within a day of his request. He has provided no accounting of where the money has been spent with any sort of documentation of receipts, vendors, or subcontractors. I have asked him repeatedly. He told me it would take days to put hundreds and hundreds of receipts together and that he would have to charge me to do that. He's taken materials from my home to use on other jobs. He has cashed checks for me in his business name and his personal name. He has repeatedly guilted me into sending him referrals and badgered me for more money above and beyond the contract cost since beginning the framing in January, y'all. I've had professionals during the project. I've had professionals after he left. They have all come in and they have all said the same thing. That Brian used inappropriate, inexpensive, insufficient products to show progress for the intent of collecting as much money from me as he could for as long as possible with no intent to do or finish the scope of work that I contracted him to do. He willfully and purposefully destroyed my home to gain financially. He deceived us. He maliciously destroyed and vandalized my home and yard, and he left it uncomfortable during the process to increase our dependency on him, and he left it unlivable following his departure. He repeatedly lied to me about ordering my brick. I finally put him in a 3-way text thread with the brick guy, and he continued to lie, and he continued not to order my brick. He tried to get more money from me to replace my entire electrical box, and I had to call the people that built my home to show him that it didn't need to be replaced. Brian has a judgment out there already from 2014 to the tune of $213,000 that he has not paid. He has assault charges against him and lives within minutes of my home. Our house was whole, efficient, sturdy, livable, and new at the start of this project. My house is currently unlivable due to structural hazards, water damage, inefficient HVAC, construction debris, and hazards throughout the house and yard, both for us and our pets. Brian has $105,000. He has been gallivanting around with his live-in girlfriend this summer after leaving my job, and he has been going on many vacations with her. His family has purchased lake property within days of leaving my job. Brian began referring out my loan company because it fully funded up front and trying to find people in my neighborhood that didn't require county inspection. Brian lied about ordering brick, ordering and receiving pool plumbing. He destroyed and tore down the playset, the sprinkler system, and the fence, resulting in the neighbor's dog entering my yard and home and murdering our bunny of 7 years. Since moving my stove and appliances to incorrectly and inadequately install the flooring I purchased, that he spent the last several months attempting to guilt me, claiming that they were installing them for free. My kitchen is not functioning properly. So we're having to eat out more. The stove is not consistent. The freezer freezes up. The hot water is not consistent. Outlets, light sources, and fans are damaged and not functioning properly. Our home has massive amounts of dust, even after cleaning it multiple times, which has ruined our furniture. This renovation experience has caused us massive out-of-pocket expenses. My kids have lived through things no kid should live through. They can point out damage in their friends' homes from pointing out so much in ours. I am paying on this loan for the next 12 to 15 years for a renovation and a pool that I don't have. But instead, we have our forever home damaged, destroyed, and unlivable. We were led to believe that everything was being done correctly. I was led to believe that he permitted the pool and renovation, involved an architect and engineer that I paid for in the down payment, and that the results would be phenomenal. I did all I could to stay in good graces with Brian throughout the project. But anytime I asked a question following the signing of the contract, he was defensive, argumentative, and demeaning to me, referring to me as girly, a spaz, and belittling me. These are the babies that Brian did this to over the course of this last year. I've been told by many concerned family and many skilled professionals, experts, that Brian and this situation should be fully investigated criminally and that justice sought for us and our experience endured and our home made whole again.